before, it was $50,000 to bring a claim in the provincial court. And just as of August 1st of this year, they changed it to $100,000. So they've increased the jurisdiction of the old provincial court now to 100 grand.
Hello, I'm Tom Mustin with Ask the Lawyers. The Justice Statutes Amendment took effect earlier this year, increasing the monetary limits for a civil judgment. And here to talk more about that and much more is lawyer Steve Grover. Steve, great to talk to you as always.
Hi, Tom. Nice to see you again. Hopefully everything's good.
Everything's great. I appreciate it. So explain the change in limits for suits brought to the Alberta civil courts.
So it used to be called the provincial court, and I think it's called the Alberta Court of Justice now. That was a name change, and before it was $50,000 to bring a claim in the provincial court, and just as of August 1st of this year, they changed it to $100,000. So they've increased the jurisdiction of the old provincial court now to 100 grand.
Wow. So does increasing the limits in the provincial courts actually decrease the pressure on the court system as a whole?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the goal. I mean, at the end of the day, unfortunately, the Court of King's Bench, I mean, we don't have enough justices in Alberta. The ones that are retiring are not being replaced as quickly as we need to. Plus, the population in Alberta has grown in the last 20 years, so we don't have enough justices for our court system at the Court of King's Bench in Alberta. And I believe part of the reason was to try and alleviate the pressure on the Court of King's Bench and maybe move some smaller claims up to $100,000 into the old provincial court here in Alberta.
And you mentioned the Court of the King's Bench. What's the difference between the Court of the King's Bench and the Alberta Court of Justice?
Alberta Court of Justice is more of a provincial court where, you have a limit on how much you can sue. Now it's up to $100,000. Alberta Court of King's Bench is sort of like it would be the bigger court until you get up to the Court of Appeal in Alberta, and there is no limit on what kind of suit you can bring. In that case, the justices are appointed federally by the Prime Minister of Canada. They have more jurisdiction to hear more cases. And obviously, there's no limit on the amount of suit that can be brought in the Court of King's Bench. So there's a big difference. Also, it's the Alberta Court of King's Bench the cases are regulated by the Alberta Rules of Court, where you have to go through certain steps like questioning, disclosure of information, expert reports. The Alberta Court of Justice, it's sort of like there's the Alberta Rules of Court, but the judges there are kind of leery in enforcing certain rules that have to be followed. And it's just more strict in the Court of King's Bench, and the evidentiary rules are more stringent there too.
So, Steve, what if you're deciding to bring a suit against somebody? Do you have a choice for which court you can bring the case to?
Oh yeah, there is no restriction. I mean, obviously, our firm, there's lawyers here that represent our clients. We prefer to have a claim brought in the Court of King's Bench just because there's no limit on the jurisdiction. Also, there's requirements on disclosure of documents. There's a requirement to go to questioning, which is good, so you can question the other party, and our client can get questioned, and the other side can read the client's credibility. Obviously, there's rules regarding exchange of expert reports, so it's more stringent, it's more certainty, and even with the increase of jurisdiction to $100,000, I would prefer to file my client's personal injury claim in the Court of King's Bench because there's more certainty, there's more rules of court, and that would be my preferred jurisdiction to deal with.
And there's been a lot of talk about this bringing more complex cases to the Court of Justice. And does that change someone's need to have a lawyer?
Yeah, well, the Alberta Court of Justice now, or the old provincial court, it was sort of the layperson's courthouse. When they increased their jurisdiction years and years ago to 50 grand, my office started filing motor vehicle claims and personal injury claims in the provincial court. The judges were not very receptive to it. They just thought, if you're a lawyer, you're better off making the claim in the Court of King's Bench. I think more of the court of justice is more for laypersons to go in, file their claim there, go in front of a judge and try and figure out the claim, or have a pretrial hearing and have a mediation, eventually a trial at the court of provincial court, the court of justice. So it's just more layperson friendly, if that makes sense to you.
Yeah, it does. A lot of great information as always, Steve. We certainly appreciate you joining us. Thanks again.
Great, thank you, and always happy to be interviewed by you, Tom, and hopefully I'll see you again at a Buffs game in the near future.
We'll do it again soon. And that's going to do it for this episode of Ask the Lawyer. My guest has been Steve Grover. If you want to ask Steve a question about your situation, just call the number you see on the screen. Thanks for watching. I'm Tom Mustin for Ask the Lawyers.